Hi again. My name is Rebel and I'm the Rebel Reseller. And today we're going to be doing the second half of my What Sold video, which will be for last weekend, Friday through Sunday, April 25th through the 27th. And, you know, it was a slow weekend. This is my words for that weekend sales. Thank goodness for bread and butter and clothes, because it was a rough weekend.
You'd put your store on
Time away.
So we could go to Nashville.
Yes.
For the Nashville Reseller Meetup.
But I had turned it off. I turned it off Friday because I knew I could ship Monday. So it technically was only on time away Thursday.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So, but still, I guess undoing the time away and all of that stuff.
You'd think that would give you a boost. Hey, I'm back in business. Let's boost this store a little bit, get some sales in, because she's going to be shipping on the next business day.
No. So it was a little down, but I did have some saving grace sales too that were, higher dollar, which always makes it a little bit more palatable when sales are just low. So before we get started, I put in my Facebook group that we were considering starting to do like a monthly live show. And we've decided, most people were saying like Monday, Tuesday. So we're going to do one this next Tuesday. What day is that?
2 days from now.
Okay, 2 days from now.
Today is the 4th, so on the 6th.
On the 6th at 7 o'clock.
7 p.m. Eastern.
7 p.m. Eastern. So if you've got questions and you're afraid you're going to forget them, go ahead and start putting questions in the comments. We'll be going through the comments and the chats.
If you have them ahead of time, put your question in a comment to this video. We'll refer back to that, and then we'll answer ones in the chat too that day. So I'm hoping, this will, let you get to know us a little bit better, for those of you who are newer to our channel, and answer questions, do life updates, that kind of stuff, and just kind of stay connected. I'd say you're old, but I'd have to put the You're older since the last one.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done a live.
Christmas.
Was it Christmas?
Yeah, we usually do one of Mom and Dad's at Christmas, but we should do it more frequently.
Yeah, I thought doing it more frequently, that way we can address especially any recent changes, like the whole Bonanza fiasco and, anything else that might be happening in the previous month, so I think it'll be good. I used to do a weekly live, but I don't think I have the time to do that, but I think doing a monthly with Robert will help a lot.
Because you were supposed to work during that 2-hour weekly live, but you never worked.
No, I couldn't work. So then it ended up an hour and a half of, time that I stayed and answered questions and chit-chatted and stuff like that. But I think we'll start with a monthly and see how it goes. All right, so let me go ahead and show you what sold on Etsy, one sale, and then on eBay. Y'all, I am so glad this has finally sold. This was in my high bid estate sale that we won 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
I think it was May 4 years ago.
That's crazy. Right at the beginning of our channel. And it's taken this long to sell. And then it sells on Etsy. It hadn't been listed on Etsy very long. So, if you've got vintage stuff on eBay, consider maybe opening up an Etsy store. We have a link down in the description of the video. I think if you sign up under me, we both get like 30 or 40 free listings. That first 20 cents, right? But yeah, I couldn't even come up with really good words on this one. So it was just a rubber face, hands, feet, vintage boy, toeless shoes. And it sold for $69.95. And then this is a Thai Thunder is his name. Husky dog wolf from 2006. Probably a Ben's pickup. It's been listed since December and it sold for $20.66. Now the thing with eBay right now is I do have a 10% store coupon.
It's one of those
It's one of
tomatoes.
those words. Yeah, I have a 10% store coupon, and so if it doesn't sell on an offer, then the buyer is getting 10% off the sale price. And I'm selling a lot of stuff that way. You know, would it have sold anyway? I don't know. But having the store coupon, I'm noticing if you go through these things that sold that weekend, I think there's actually more that sold with just a coupon than through an offer. This is another one of those. It was pre-boxed and it was huge. And you know, at some point, probably with the next inventory that I was going to do, I was going to probably start getting rid of some of the bigger vintage items that are pre-packed, that are huge, just because the shipping is so terrible.
Especially
but,
if they've been around since 2022.
Yeah, this has been before 2022. But it was such a cute plush. It is KB Brothers. It was a 24-inch tall horse, but it was the carnival style. So it's very, very thick, stiff type stuffing in it. I'm not sure if you guys can see it on here. It's showing shipping was $21.58. No, it wasn't. That would have been shipping if I was shipping to myself. I think they ended up paying about 30 some dollars shipping through UPS ground. The USPS shipping was something ridiculous. So I encourage you that if you have larger items, go ahead and add UPS ground shipping. We don't do FedEx because I've seen too many horror stories with FedEx coming back later and charging you more shipping through the eBay adjustments. So I just refuse. Plus, we have a UPS store. It's about 20 minutes away from us, and we just end up taking these packages to the UPS store. You know, it's safe. It's, you know, behind their counter, and I just prefer it that way. But, you know, if you've got larger stuff, you know, and it's going to be worth listing, definitely check into UPS ground and then make it the first choice. Because if you could see the regular shipping on here for USPS, let me see. I'm going to take this off. Let's see if I can see it. Yeah, right here's the screen. Shipping it to myself, right? That's my zip code there. Ground Advantage was going to be $54 and Priority Mail was going to be $70, where the UPS ground was, you know, almost half that price. LL Bean women's pea coat, size 8 petite, sold for $26.71. And it's May. All right, Applause Hush Puppies mint green, sold for $8.05. Bread and butter. The buyer has also paid extra for shipping, for those of you who may have just checked in on one of my videos. This is Anthropology women's striped t-shirt, sold for $12. Bacilla Mary Maxim rug yarn. My friend Shannon gave these to me when I was down visiting her in Florida, and they've been listed since December and sold for $38. Omega vertical juicer, the replacement brush and the little pusher, sold for $13.45. Again, anything that's not got a red price next to it, it was 10% less for the store coupon. Family Guy Brian the dog plush from Nantco, sold for $22.45. Cowboys and Indians horse figure lot. I had a bunch of these. I think they were like a box lot of them that I picked up somewhere. I ended up divvying them out into several different lots based on size. Like a lot of these seem to be very similar. This set sold for $8.05. Bread and butter. Whitman's Candy Top Christmas Tree Woodstock Ornament. Came from my Snoopy lot that we purchased last year. This sold for $8.96. Dakin Lion Cub Plush from 1977, $8.96. Bachman, H.O. Scale, Thomas the Train, Clarabelle figure. This is a lot smaller. You need to pay attention when you pick up Thomas stuff. A lot of it's going to be either HIT or Mattel, Learning Curve. But this particular one was Bachman. Smaller scale than most of the others, and they do very well. I wish I had more to go in this lot. It took about a little over a month to sell, and I took an offer of $12 for it. Kohl's Pete the Cat Blue Plush sold for $8.96.
Real quick ad, leave a comment, hit the like button, and if you got to do some shopping, hit one of the affiliate links in the video description. On with the program. Wait, I'd sing it, but we'll have Bugs Bunny do it.
Dakin White Bear, his name was Fairbanks Jr., 15-inch tall, sold for $17.95. I think this might have been actually my best sell of the weekend. It was a Brookstone Nap comfy blanket. This one is kind of like a, what are they called? Snugglies or whatever, where you can put your arms through it. It's kind of like a robe, but a little bit bigger. The Brookstone lap blankets, y'all definitely keep an eye out for them. They sell very well and for a lot of money. This one I think had just some minor wear, and I ended up taking an offer for it for $50. American Eagle capri pants sold for $11.41.
You need to sell some more exciting stuff so I have things to comment on.
I know, clothes. J. Jill dress, striped, from the Wherever collection. I'm pretty sure this is something we picked up last summer. Bought a bunch of J. Jill at a yard sale. I want to say I paid $2 and $3 for each piece. This one ended up selling on an offer for $18. Mini little white rabbit plush. They had little rattles in them. They were kind of cute. Sold for $10.95, but again, they had been listed forever. Chuck E. Cheese mouse graduation sold for $11.66. Royal paintbrushes. I picked up a huge lot of these paintbrushes at an estate sale. Robert was gone that weekend, and they had an entire garage full of the molds, the ceramic molds. A lot of them were Christmas, which seems to do a lot better than some of the others. I just didn't want to deal with them. I didn't want to have to try to get them by myself.
So you're being lazy.
No, no more projects, right? No more projects. But he actually tried to go back a couple of weeks later when we thought it was another yard sale at this place, and it wasn't. So makes you wonder, what did they do with a garage full of those molds? And the house was being sold, so it's kind of...
Some of those molds sell for pretty good money.
Yes, they sure do. But
like I said, lazy.
Somebody else had contacted me and bought a bunch of the paintbrushes that I had listed previously. This was like I want to say this is the last lot of them, and this set of 12 sold for $10.76. I bought quite a few crafty things from that sale, though, that weekend. Talbot's Irish linen women's slacks sold for $10. Again, took over a year to sell. Chico's women's cardigan sold for $15. Like I said, thank goodness for the clothes. Lily Pulitzer women's jeans. Picked these up last summer. I want to say it was at the yard sale. Maybe no. I think this was a Ben's pickup. I had purchased some other Lily Pulitzers for the first time, but I think that was actually 2 years ago. But these jeans sold for an offer of $15.
The years are blurring together.
Yes, they do. They do. Monsters Inc. little micro vehicle. This was Sully, sold for $8.96. Bread and butter. World's softest plush from Beverly Hills Teddy Bear Company. sold for $8.96. Probably not something I'm going to pick up again, even though this one sold in about 2 months. All right, soccer and football ball plush lot bins pickup sold for $22.45.
So what do people in Europe call that?
Soccer and soccer.
No, football and American football ball?
I guess so, yeah, that's true. Cloud Island Gray Elephant Lovey sold for $22.45.
That was easy.
This sold instantly as soon as I listed it. Mighty Star Roadrunner Plush, 1988, had the little suction cups on it, and it was an international sale, but it sold probably within 5 minutes of listing for $29.95.
You should sell everything that
I
fast.
wish. Churchill Willa Rosa cereal bowl. I want to say we picked up a bunch of this at an estate sale. I'm slowly but surely ending some of my single listings of, plates and bowls. I'm going to start putting them back together as small lots. But this one had sold before I ended it, which is kind of nice because I have 4 left instead of 5. So when I end this one, I'll just go ahead and make a lot of 4 and hopefully get the rest of them gone. But this one cereal bowl sold for $9.33.
The shipping department has asked me to thank you for listing those things in lots instead of singles.
Yeah, you guys have seen me go through a transition because, 4 years ago when we started this, I liked listing everything, individually. That way, if somebody broke one bowl, they could buy one bowl. Well, it's just kind of become tedious because they don't sell for a lot of times. And then it costs so much to, ship them and buy the boxes for them when, a set of 2 or a set of 4 pretty much can fit in the same size box as one. So we're changing it all.
And it might take a couple, it takes a piece of small bubble wrap in between each one.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you sold 4 of those, it would take 3 pieces of small bubble wrap and maybe an extra 2 or 3 large of the large bubble wraps for us. And you would be selling it for $36, $37 as opposed to
$9
for the additional expense of 4 pieces of bubble wrap or 5.
Yep. All right, Molinex meat grinder pusher sold for $16.16. All right, Hallmark Spaniel dog plush. I think this had a specific line. Best friend, it was on the collar. Sold for $11.43. And last but not least, picked these up in a thrift store in Hannibal, Missouri when we were out there visiting. I want to say I paid $3 each. And there was a time when these sold for this much each, but once I had done comps, I realized they weren't going to sell for a lot individually and even together. As you can see, they sold very, very quickly, but they sold for the $22.45 minus the 10%, so not even quite $20. So not a great profit to go from 6 to 20, but they're gone. I recouped my money and I probably will not buy them again.
But they sold quickly.
They sold quickly.
And you sold it for 3 times what you paid for it. And
I know.
Walmart would love to do that.
True.
They work on thin margins, but they have a vast corporation to support that sort of thing, and they know based on history that they're going to sell X number of thousands of dollars of groceries every day at a store. So they can live on those margins, where when you're a reseller, we have to have those higher margins because we don't have,
Right.
a million sales every month to support all of our overhead, such as mileage and electricity and all that. So we got to have a higher markup.
And as far as the Great Adventure series, a lot of that stuff sells for big bucks. The castle, the ship, the knights, the figures. But these weren't any of those that sell for a lot. So just be particular when you're finding stuff, especially when you've been doing it as long as I have been, that, a lot of times, I haven't found them in years. And in my brain, I just knew that they were going to sell for more than they actually are selling for these days. So, it's part of the game, especially when you're not always checking comps and you're basing it on experience. Not always probably the right thing to do. So, right, y'all, it is time to get to work. I'm going to actually make another video.
Leave your comment below for questions for Tuesday's live.
Yes, definitely. Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern time. All right, y'all, get to work. Bye.